Instagram. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another live stream on Moving Home with Charlie. I'm Charlie Lambden. That is Teddy Kleindienst. Did I say that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. And just give me a second while I make sure that we're live on Instagram too. And we are. And this is Daphne, my daughter, who's 2 years old. And the deal is, the reason that she's here is that if I wanted a cup of tea, I had to hold the baby until a cup of tea comes. So in a minute, I'm about to swap the baby for a cup of tea. As regular viewers of this know, there's no live stream without a cup of tea. Maybe a beer, but at the moment, no beer. So it's just tea at this point. Now, I would like to introduce. I was planning to introduce Teddy when he wasn't actually on screen, but he's just going to have to be embarrassed now while I say this, so he can sit there and blush while I say this. Teddy is the area manager for Hunters Estate Agents. Hunters is a large national franchise brand, meaning that its branches are owned by franchisees and therefore not controlled by corporate head office. Am I right about that, Teddy?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. You are the area manager for 2 branches for a franchisee. So you're not the owner. You're employed by the owners of those branches. Is that correct?
Correct.
And we actually met recently. So I've known lots of agents for 25 years. You discovered me through the channel, through Best Agent, through Moving Home with Charlie. You contacted me and told me that you'd actually taken on board the process of not overvaluing to win business. And earlier this evening, we had a conversation where you thrilled me by telling me that it took a while to get. Oh, here we are. Here's the trade. Here's the tea for baby trade. Okay. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, Daph.
Bye.
Oh, my God, she's heavy. And you told me that it's been transformational for you and your clients because you aren't having to call people to reduce their prices. You aren't having to call people to persuade them to go and view overpriced property. You've now got realistically minded sellers with realistically priced properties that you are actually able to sell, and it's making the customers so happy that you're now actually getting recommendations and other home sellers ringing up and saying, my friend was so happy, please do sell my house. And so it's amazing to have that real world confirmation of the fact that I do know what I'm talking about. It's a long time. We met briefly last week in London, had a chat for the first time. And what I haven't told you to your face before, and I'll tell you now, is that every now and then you encounter people who have just got a wonderful attitude and they care about people and they care about service and they care about doing the right thing. And that is, as you may have discovered, quite rare in estate agency. And so that was why I invited you to be on the Moving Home with Charlie channel this evening. Now, I have most of my followers. I passed 22,222 subscribers on YouTube today. Most of my followers are very reasonable, lovely people. Occasionally, when I have an estate agent on the show, we get a few mean, nasty comments, and there are quite a lot of new followers now. And the rule is this, right? You are welcome, and we welcome and invite constructive criticism on the topic being discussed. Any personal remarks, instantly blocked. Don't be childish. Don't do it. We're all too grown up for that stuff. So none of that, please. And no generalizing about all estate agents, because Teddy is living proof that not all agents are the same. And so, especially if we've got anyone currently moving, if you've got buyers, if you're currently buying and you've got questions about the agent you're currently dealing with, Teddy here to take your questions. But especially sellers who have got problems or challenges, you'd like to ask Teddy his advice. And the area that Teddy covers is Surbiton and Worcester Park in southwest London, which is sort of near Richmond, isn't it? Do you want to just describe that area?
Yeah, so it's basically nestled between Kingston and Sutton, so it's slightly easier to find on the map. So we've got a slightly wider area that we cover because we're franchisees, so we don't have to stick to a corporate, well, that's where you're allowed to go. Basically, we go anywhere where there's sensible sellers and where it makes sense for us to go to, so it's not too far, so it works for everybody.
And just by way of personal introduction, so you arrived in England, am I right, from Slovenia?
Correct.
So you arrived in England from Slovenia how many years ago?
That was in 2017.
Okay, so 7 years ago. You've been an agent for 4 years.
Just shy.
So not brand new, but relatively new to the business, and that's which is why you've still got so much enthusiasm. Let's talk again another 10 years and see how that's going. But actually, no, with the approach that you're adopting, you will, because you're going to get that wonderful feedback from clients going, oh my God, an actual professional, trustworthy, transparent estate agent that knows what they're doing and doesn't lie to me. Hey, they do exist. So I've got all of your properties that you're currently listing from your Worcester Park branch are up on the Rightmove list. We'll go to those in a minute. But would you like, just for the benefit of people watching who are in that part of Southwest London, to give us your honest assessment of what the market for, you're typically doing, am I right, 3-bed terrace, 3-bed semi houses? Is that the bread and butter for you?
Yeah, I'd say that is the biggest part of it. I mean, we do get some of the quite the big boys going nearing onto the 2 million mark, but obviously those are not your everyday deals. But the vast majority, I'd say, would be exactly what you said, 3-bedroom mid-terrace to 3-bedroom semis, ranging the cheapest ones being kind of 450, 500 mark, and 3 beds going all the way up to 750, 800-ish mark.
Okay. And what are the dynamics of that market for you at the moment? Is there plenty of stock, not enough stock? Is it shifting fast? Have you got buyers, but are there no buyers, or are the buyers there but they can't afford it? Or what are you seeing?
Funny enough, that's a question I get literally several times a day on every single valuation I go. What's the market like? Well, first of all, it depends on who you ask. If you're a buy-to-let investor looking for a cheap flat with cash and whatnot, you know, it may be a better market than it was years ago because of the dynamic in the price. But for a regular consumer, which normally what the question is, exactly. So your typical transaction. You get loads of scaremongering on social media and news, how bad everything is about the market crash and whatnot, which to a certain level, I mean, market crash, yes, the prices have dropped. There's no two ways about it, but we're out of stock. So it's...
Sorry, what was that last comment? What did you say?
We're out of stock.
You're out of stock.
So yeah, everything's selling like hotcakes, except for the couple of the sellers that we've got that determine the prices themselves and have agreed with us up front that they are too high and they want to gamble.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, the rest is sold. I'm not sure what everybody's complaining about.
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, activity is good. I mean, my position is activity is good, and the lower prices are in relation to wages, the more people can buy and the more transactions happen and the more people have homes and can get on with their life and can start families and do all of those things. And the more house prices rise, the less that can happen. The less transactions there will be, and the less people will be able to actually have a decent life, and it's just not worth it. So somebody asked me the question a couple of years ago when I was saying that house prices were going to slide. I've never said they're going to crash. I've always said they're going to slide. What would be the minimum pain? Because nobody wants their house value to drop. I get that. If you're upsizing, it doesn't matter, because if the house you're buying is also dropped, then your net position is the same. But I've always said that the optimum way that the whole market can recalibrate to be more affordable without hurting people's values too much is for prices to effectively flatline whilst wages rise, so that actually affordability is improving without prices falling, and that's happening gradually. And actually, that's kind of what's happening. And I think that's the best all-round scenario, because that will start to see transaction volumes picking up. You won't get people being priced out of the market. Gradually, more and more people will be priced into the market as wages rise and house prices don't rise. If house prices aren't rising or falling, people will feel comfortable to buy a home, but people won't be buying to speculate. And if people aren't buying to speculate, that won't drive house prices up. So more people can afford a home and more people can have a good life. And at the moment, that's what there are places in the country where house prices are falling and houses aren't selling. There are places in the country where first-time buyer properties prices are still going up. Not very fast though. Northern Ireland and Scotland are going crazy. I don't know why. I've got no insight to that. But
yeah, I'd add here because there was a lot of conversation there with how much each area, because everybody just, oh, what's the market drops like? Well, where, what house, what type of a property? Obviously, there's loads of sub questions, but in general, for that most desired 3-bedroom property home that we get around here, is basically we've noticed around about, obviously this is on our calculations, looking at one based on our valuations, what we went out, around about the average of 11% since Listras, basically, when everything started, when the momentum started to shift.
Okay, so what you think prices are about 11% lower than they were in 2020? That was nearly 2 years ago, September 2022, wasn't it?
Yeah, for our area, that would be the average.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you are, guys. I had it from the horse's mouth. Now, shall we go through? Because I'm still watching out. We haven't yet got any questions coming in. I'm looking for questions for Teddy. I've got one comment though from Amber Hadley. Says, "Hi Charlie, thanks for last night's great advice. I've booked to see 3 properties over the next 4 days that are over budget on my budget of 450, but keeping an open mind." This is someone last night who I said, just get out and view. If there's stuff that's been on the market for a long time, even if it's a bit out of your price range, see if you can view it. And look at that. 3 people said, yeah, you can come and view it. Always go and view. I mean, as an agent, you agree with that, right?
Yeah,
you'd much rather have a buyer come and view it than no one view it.
Not at all. If you've seen a property that's been on the market for a few weeks already, especially we're talking 3-4 weeks plus, obviously there are exceptions to every rule, but if you have seen the property on the market, go and view, and do not be scared of putting an offer where you're comfortable. Most of the time, agents will be thankful so they can get to the vendors and say, told you.
Yeah, exactly. A viewing is good for the agent. An offer is good for the agent, even if it's not accepted. They're not all going to get accepted, but you've only got to find one where you are in the right place, right time, right home, right seller, and you come along and go, look, I know it's way below the asking price, but actually this brings me on to a really good question I've got for today. I know it's a long way below the asking price, but this is what I can afford. And sometimes the seller goes, well, if you can move quickly, yes. And those deals happen. And that's why I always say, get out and view. And if you've run out of stuff to view in your price range, look a little bit higher, because you never know. It does work. Now, that reminds me. So the question I had for you. Oh, I've got to get this right. So I had someone contact me today who is struggling to sell. They've contacted me privately, so I can't say who it is or where it is, but they are struggling to sell. They bought it 5 years ago as a new build. They paid $450 for it 5 years ago. They had several agents round, and all the agents said $550. And this is a classic case of the overvaluing and why it kills the market, right? They've changed agents. They've used 2 agents, and they've had nothing. Barely any viewings, 0 offers. They've contacted me saying, we think that if we drop the price to 500, guide or offers over, we might get some interest. What do you think we should do? But they said, we're worried because we've heard you say that if you have to make a price reduction, it gets harder to sell. Well, that's true. My point is, make sure you price your property to begin with at a price that you're not going to need to reduce, because that makes people like Teddy's job much easier to get you competing bidders, and competing bidders will then tell you what the market will pay for your property. So what I was concerned about is that this seller has actually, or I have miscommunicated this advice. If they thought we want to lower our price, we can't because we're worried that if we do, Charlie said it means we won't be able to sell our house. That problem has already manifested itself. You've now got to reduce it. You've got to reduce it quickly, and you've got to reduce it boldly to make sure that you don't make the second mistake, which is even worse, of lowering it but not enough. And if you've had, it's been on the market since February, that's 6-7 months now it's been on, and you've had no offers, and barely any viewings, that's telling you that you're quite a long way above the market, right? Because if you were only slightly above the market, you get a few viewings, you may not get any offers, you might get a low offer. But when it's, I think you need to lower it to a number starting with a 4. If you've been on at 550 and you've got tumbleweed after 6 months and 2 agents, I'd be going down to 485, 490 to get competing bidders in the door at the same time. So Teddy, I'd love to know what you think about if a price reduction is required. Is there a way you'd advise going about it? For example, do you ring around your buyers that you know might be interested and let them know about it before, so your registered buyers, before you publicize the price drop, or do you just hit it with a price drop? What do you do?
It does depend a little bit, depending on the situation. I mean, in the case scenario you've described, it definitely sounds like, I mean, if you get not a single viewing or nothing, if it was priced right, there's no estate agent that bad not to be able to get a viewing in there. So if you don't get a single viewing through, funny enough, you said 490. Yeah, so the next price drop, it has to go down to 500. That's the minimum price drop you can consider. Otherwise, unfortunately, you've done nothing. And 50,000 is a lot of money. And whilst we're at it, so funny enough, we've got in the pipeline at the moment a bungalow in Worcester Park. It was on with a local independent agent who's been around for 40 odd years, and they've been apparently a great agent, but they've gone a little bit behind time now. And it was on for 640. And the lady was just wanted to get rid of it. She was like begging them, just get me an offer, even if it's 510, 520, we just need to get rid of it. So what we've done, we took it off them, put it on a guide price, 600 to 650. She was like, oh, 600, that's too low. Everybody's going to come in at 580. And she's right, it was too low, but that was the intention. When people saw that bungalow on that road at 620, they were, what? 600? We had a fully booked open day, and nobody believes me when I say it on appraisals that we, in this market, get open days with 20, 25 viewings until I actually show them the diary with the names, and they go, oh, you're not bluffing. And that particular lady got the best and final offer of 625,000 and is exchanging hopefully still this week.
Well, there we go. And then Amber, who's again the person commented earlier, said, so true, that's what we had to do exactly. Dropped it from 550 to offers over 500, and after 2 weeks sold it for 520 the following week.
Exactly.
Guys, the point is, you're probably going to sell it for slightly more if you market it initially at that lower price.
Because you surprise the market.
When people see a price reduced property, there's that slight touch of, oh, I wonder why it didn't sell. You're not going to get as much interest in it the second time. Even if you get enough to sell it, you won't get as much as when it's the first time, when it's a fresh, brand new, fresh blood to the market and it looks like it's well priced. The thing is, buyers never go away. In terms of people who want a new house, never stop wanting a new house. They just can't afford them if the prices are too high, right? I mean, people don't stop wanting a new house. They just can't afford it. That's what it comes down to. And that's when the market transactions drop, is because people can't afford to buy. So especially in a weaker market, your pricing is so important, isn't it? Let's run through your listings you've got here. Let's get
I'm dreading this now, going public.
There we are. Yes, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. And for anyone else who wants to actually have a look at this list as well, this is free publicity. This is free marketing for your properties.
Yeah, so I'll take it.
I'm going to put the link to that page actually in the live chat. So there is the link to the Rightmove list of all of Teddy's. This is just one of your 2 offices, isn't it? It's just Worcester Park. Yeah. So I'm just going to hide that so we can see it more clearly, and I'm also going to hide that comment as well. Right, there we are. I've got a nice clear view of it. So what I noticed when I scrolled through here earlier, you've got 36 including stuff that's sold, and I've got the property log Chrome extension on that shows price reductions. So what I noticed was that so there you've got one that was reduced in July from 750 to 700,000, and it's got no chain. I'm not going to ask you to comment on these, but I'm offering it. If you want to chime in, you can. Nothing remarkable about that one, I don't think.
I mean, if people want to ask to actually understand the mechanics and why is it that way, because that's kind of what we're here for. I'm happy to happy to answer any questions if there's any dilemmas. So I have no problem with that.
Okay, yeah. So if you've got questions about these properties, you want to ask Teddy about the pricing, because I think a lot of people also think that agents set the price, but that's not true, is it?
Not enough, particularly the one you are currently looking at. I can say basically, this is a person whose properties we've been selling in the past, and he's a lovely person, lovely developer. We've worked with him before, but he is one of those that wants to gamble. So this property in particular was valued at 105, so 1,050,000 at the time. Then we said, yeah, let's go on for 1.1 to see what we can get. Fair enough. And then 3 days before going live, it's like, I just put it on for 1.25 million. It's like, because I know him, I was like, look, I've told you I always say, if somebody wants to go on for higher, I have no problem, as long as I've been truthful and they understand that they are taking the gamble onto their own hands, which in this case scenario, of course it was. This in particular is a fairly busy road, and yeah, we've got viewings in. You know, we had 15 odd viewings, which I'm surprised of. But that's mostly because we had another £1 million property that has sold from where we've got all the buyers to actually ram in, because we haven't had any inquiries on it. And every buyer was like, yeah, it's wonderful. Even if you went through pictures, he's done a beautiful job, developed everything. And everybody said, yeah, it's gorgeous, but what are they smoking with the price? You know, when this is the kitchen, it's
Yeah.
really nicely done.
A huge kitchen, yeah. Okay, so this is a developer, and he's flying a kite, isn't he, on the price basically? And you've advised 1,050,000. He's gone, no, let's go in high. But there's been a reduction back in May. But even so, it's been on since May, June, July. So it's another 3 months, and you've had viewings. But obviously, have you had any offers on it?
No, we actually have not had a single one of this one. And just for people, actually, because I'm pretty sure everybody's asking in the background, because how long it's been on the market for, I can openly say that this particular vendor, they are not even tied into a contract with us. They're not tied into a long-sold agency contract. If they wanted to leave 2 months ago, they could have.
It's saying the initial asking price, that the initial listing was April. So right, let's just keep going now, because I think we've got some good ones here. Look at this. I love this. One price, no price reductions, sold STC, and it was only added at the end of July, so 6 weeks ago.
Do you want to have a guess on how much this went for?
No, go on, you tell me.
1,050,000.
1,050,000. Brilliant. So you got it for over asking. Sold for over asking price in a very short space of time. Congratulations. Well done. Is that the same developer?
No, it's completely separate. Funny enough, it's almost just across the road.
Okay.
Same size property, but it's a quiet road.
The quiet road. You see, this is one of the things that automatic valuation models don't take into account, isn't it?
Because it's just
they
average.
don't know how noisy or quiet a road is. Okay, then you got the next one there. So you've had that's quite a small reduction, isn't it? 2.5% reduction back in June after going on it. Oh, so actually, that was very soon after it was listed.
Yeah, because I valued this at 900 at the start. A lady lives there alone and runs an Airbnb. Normally in Surbiton, this type of a property would go well over £1 million. But if you would look at the back of the garden, there's the fast Surbiton train line running through your garden. And
the Surbiton train runs through your garden. Okay.
Yeah, which means trains every 45 seconds.
Every 45 seconds. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Beautiful property. Otherwise, got a bit of character, a bit of modernization. But yeah.
Yeah.
Valued 900 once again.
It's just really nice, I think, for people to see and hear an actual agent that owns these listings talking about them and what's happening with them. It's really interesting. It's very, very cool of you to do this, Teddy. Thank you. There you are. Another one. No price reduction. Sold subject to contract. Been on a long time, though. So it came on October last year. Oh, no. Well, so that's confusing. It says it was added October last year, but the initial price was April this year. Can you clarify?
It got under offer April this year. It's currently the chain. It's quite a long chain with this one. But
Okay, all right.
the added on date is correct, but I'm not sure why would that say is a prime change history. That's when it's gone under
It's
offer.
probably because the status change. It went sold, it went under offer, then came back on again, right?
Maybe, yeah. There wasn't any adjustments.
Yeah. That in the green bit there, the price change history, that's nothing to do with Rightmove. That's the property log Chrome extension. So if that's wrong, that's not Rightmove. So it was October last year. Okay. But you've got it back under offer again. Cool. That's a very okay. Here's an interesting one. Can you tell us a story about this one? Because it looks like it's been on with other agents. It was on with Kershod's.
Yes. So this was
This was 925,000 in May last year.
And this is still on. So this is the owner's lovely chap. It was basically another family, because in New Malden there's a big Korean community, and I've started to learn Korean about a year ago because I just fell in love with it. And basically this was a recommendation to us from the previous agent to come on with us because we've sold his property. But this vendor just insists on the price, and it's one of those that we get a viewing every 2 weeks, and you just kind of keep it on. You never know what happens, but yeah, it's the ones where.
What do you think it needs to go to price wise? If I can, you may look. I understand you work for the client. You may not be able to answer that. It's an unfair question, but
actually, I've no, because I discussed that with my clients openly. I don't even hide that back. But a realistic selling price, and this would be about the 750 mark, given the condition.
Right.
And he knows that.
Okay. And so there's an example of a property where somebody with a 750 budget who might think that's out of their price range should go and view it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, never be scared to explore around, go view, just put an offer in.
Yeah.
You have no idea how thankful we are sometimes.
Yeah, I can believe it. There's another one sold without a price change.
Yep.
Congratulations. No chain. Nice, easy. Was that a pretty quick sale? How long did that take?
Within a week.
Within a week?
Yeah.
And can you tell us what it went for?
It went for so it went for 780, and then after the survey, it was reduced to 772.
Okay. All right. And was the seller, obviously the seller's happy if they've accepted it, right?
Yeah. It was funny enough. This was on with 4 different agents before us. I'm surprised that doesn't show on your extension. Right. So that was on with 4 different agents, and then we took it on with Built and OpenSay, and it was on with other agents at the same price as well, which is what shocks me. And they couldn't sell it, and we took it on OpenSay, and it just sold. This was a funky one, but yeah, it just went.
Cool. Okay. Now, guys, if you're watching, please remember, Teddy's here to take your questions. So you've got a real live, living, breathing, speaking estate agent here. Ask him your questions if you've got questions.
And you can be straightforward, don't be shy.
Says, agents hate that property log extension. I think bad agents hate it, but transparent agents don't mind it.
Not 90% of people don't know it exists.
Yeah, that's very true. Another one sold without a price reduction. Well done. Small reduction there, but it's now sold. Yeah. Okay, there's one that's only just come on.
This is the one I've mentioned earlier. So this one, literally, that's your typical 3-bedroom big semi with a 140-foot garden. And we put it down for 750. And you can see on the right-hand side actually says seller contracts back ready, probate granted, ready to go. We got people in straight away, and we've got a pending offer on this at the moment because it's on the market. I'm not going to disclose it, but it's very close to the asking price.
Oh my goodness me. Everyone, look at that. Contract ready. Contract ready. Very close to asking price, sold straight away. Amazing. Oh, that's very rare to see. Congratulations on getting that. Yeah,
that's a condition. If somebody wants to work with us, if they're committed, we can perform our job so much better and more efficiently, which end of the day, it's not about us, it's the seller having that experience. Because of that it's sometimes I would say it's really hard to explain why people are not more receiving of it. we need to convince people so much to do it, but everybody's thankful afterwards. But I think if it becomes more popular, it will get easier and it will become a habit, because at the moment it's kind of a new thing, especially in London. Contract ready, what is that?
I would love to ask any sellers who are watching this, do you know what being contract ready means? If you're a watcher of my channel, you should do. And if you do know what it means, have you decided to come to the market contract ready? And if not, why not? Because it makes it so much quicker to sell your property. It makes it much more attractive to a buyer. It shows you're serious. And it's slowly beginning to happen. I'm beginning to hear people starting, and I hope that I'd like to think it's something to do with my channel, where I'm saying to sellers, if you're serious about selling, why not be contract ready? It doesn't cost you any extra and it speeds everything up. And an agent is going to be much keener to sell it for you. Just so someone called the Dude 22, who just said, what would you say is the average price fall versus peak in Southwest London? Well, it'll be different for different property types, but just a few minutes ago, Teddy said that you reckon for the stock that you deal in, it's about 11% in the last 2 years has come down.
That is for the basic 3-bedroom. So yeah, if you look above the £1 million, the drop was more significant. Once again, it's literally dependent, not from the area, but from property to property. That's how much they do.
Okay.
There's no one answer, one size fits all for that. So it could go all the way up to 15, 17, 18% with the really expensive properties. Whilst with flats, we could be talking 3, 4, 5%. But the main core property type that you see in southwest suburbs, we are talking in our area, I calculated myself around about 11%.
Got a question here. I've got 2 questions actually. I'm going to start with Tina's question. Tina B on YouTube says, I'm buying and I need to renegotiate based on the survey. Am I naive to think the agent wants the deal to happen and will therefore help me convince the vendors to accept a reasonable drop?
Oh, this is a good one.
So she's asking, what's the position of the agent in this scenario?
So the agent's job is to get the best price possible for the property in a transaction. However, that does not necessarily mean that now that you want to renegotiate, they're just going to say, oh, no, we're not going to renegotiate, dig their heels in. So if we get this basically on a daily basis, surveys happen, and quite often they can be very serious. And most of the time, the sellers didn't even know about it. And what happens is normally what I like to say is, look, either come to the office so we can look at the survey together, or if you don't mind, I know you've paid a lot for it, but send it through so I can review. And I'll actually speak with the vendors. Look, your timbers in the loft are rotting. What they're still offering is still a really reasonable price reduction. Grab the money and run. Or it could be, I've had people saying, funny enough, I had one today, looking at the survey, if they were to put a big bathtub into upstairs bathroom, they were to remodel, the joists would not support, because it's a Victorian property, would not support a big bath full of water, and hence wanted a price negotiation. So the fact that you want a bathtub is your problem. There's nothing wrong with the property. But if the house actually has a problem, I'm going to advise my seller, look, this is an actual problem. If we go back to the market for another offer, most probably you'll end up with even less, because this is now a visual problem. It's a real problem. We're not being hurtful to anyone, but if a house has got rising damp, rotting timbers, something like that, it needs to be addressed. As simple as that.
Absolutely. And of course, as the agent, you're set. All agents want a transaction to happen rather than not happen, right? So you're not, yes, you're right. You're quite right to point out your job is to get the best price the market will pay for your client's property. But in a scenario where, and I think the word there is a reasonable drop, if there's a problem that's come from the survey, all agents are going to help that happen. No agent wants a deal to fall through, and no agent wants to go back to square one and have to start remarketing a property, do they? If you've got a deal together, you want to hold the deal together, right? More than anything else.
Especially here from what Tina said, a reasonable drop. I think that word reasonable is what makes it valid. And yeah, that's the key point.
So we've got a question here from Jean-Marc Bordeaux, who I think is Jean-Marc in Bordeaux. Am I right? Or is that your surname? Anyway, he says, question, Teddy, ex-teacher, now back in France, have a mid-terrace, 3-bed, North London. If I wanted to sell, should I market the property with the tenant in?
Good question. Very good question, which we get a lot. At the moment, landlords, because of the financial climate, do unload a lot of their portfolios, which answers your question in itself. Landlords are currently, very few landlords are actually increasing their portfolio compared to especially what we had 2 years ago, which means that if you are selling with the tenants, yes, of course you can, absolutely. But what you want with every marketing approach, you want your audience to be as wide as possible, because that's going to engage as much interest as possible. And selling with the tenant at the moment may cause you to have to accept a lower price what you would have normally achieved had you had a property empty, because it's just your audience gets limited. It can be sold 100%, but what you're walking away with may suffer, because all the first-time buyers, all the home movers are not able to purchase it because you've got a tenant there, which means that you will take that cut, unfortunately. You can, but ideally you don't want to, but it depends on your situation. I don't know what's in the background.
Can I add 2 things to that? First of all, if I always say to people in Jean-Marc's situation, go and find the agent that is the strongest lettings agent in your area, right, in the area of the house. The agent, and preferably a local owner-managed agency that's got a big portfolio and therefore knows lots of landlords, okay? Because they are the most likely agent to have a landlord that might be looking to buy up tenanted properties that are coming up in the area. That are looking, you're right, they're in the minority, landlords expanding portfolio now, but there are some. The professional mid-sized landlords with a portfolio, they're mostly cash buyers, and actually a tenanted property at the right price is quite attractive to them. Bang, straight in. They've got an instant yield that's there. That's point number 1. I think it's always worth exploring that option first, because the process of getting the tenant out, quite apart from the fact that it's horrible for the tenant if they don't want to move out, that can take a long time and can cost you lots of money. If the tenant wants to dig their heels in, the law at the moment is on the side of the tenant a lot longer. Roughly it takes a year. If a tenant wants to dig their heels in and not move and just cross their arms and go, nope, not leaving, as a landlord, you've got about a year at least until you can actually get them out.
And you can be happy if they keep paying rent.
But the thing is, they'll often stop paying rent at that point.
They will.
So what I think is, see if you can sell it with a tenant in. And do that quietly off market. You don't have to go to, just by talking to the agents who know the landlords. Do you have a landlord who'd like to buy my tenanted property? Number 1. Number 2, say to the tenant, I'm going to need to sell. What do you want to do? Do you want to get out straight away, or do you want to wait in there until I exchange and complete? Are you going to cooperate? Because some tenants will go, actually, if it means I get to stay here 6 months longer, yeah, I'm happy to cooperate and open the door for viewings, keep the place tidy. A lot of tenants will go, I'd much rather have 6 more months here and more time to find another home than have to get out now before you start doing viewings. Yeah. So I think, Jean-Marc, it depends on the relationship with your tenant, depends on their situation, but all of these things are things to take into account. But that's what I would do in that situation. I would find out if the tenant wants to stay or not, and if they do, I'd see if you can sell it to a landlord. And if the landlord doesn't want to buy it, then I say to the tenant, "Do you want to stay? Are you going to cooperate with me if I sell it? Because then then you can stay there until exchange, basically."
Yeah, there is a property we're selling at the moment where there's tenants in there, but will be sold with vacant possession. And because the landlord has a healthy relationship with the tenant, the agreement is until they've got everything set, sales memorandums out, and we can see that it's moving in the right direction, the tenants won't get notice. So the landlord is not risking losing the income, and the tenant's not just kicked out over nothing. So but that's all dependent on basically people's trust a little bit and having a healthy relationship with the tenant. It's not just a one size fits all one again.
Yeah, cool. How about this for some nice feedback? The Dude 22 says, this is really great. Love the transparency. Seems like a very professional agent without an agenda. Great ad for agents. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why he's here, guys, because my message has always been all agents are not the same. Good agents are out there. They're just hard to find, but they are there. They are there. Right. Oh my God, we go for 40 minutes. I'm actually going to say to Teddy, is there anything you particularly like to say or ask me? And anything at all that you think is relevant to our move? And we have movers and agents watching, by the way. We've always got movers, agents, and some mortgage brokers tend to be watching as well. If not while it's live, then certainly afterwards. But I would actually, I'd love to ask you a question that we've already discussed in our previous call earlier today. Would you just share with the mover audience what it was like for you when you started out as a branch manager and you were basically told to overvalue because that's what everybody does. That's what you did. And you've now managed to turn yourself into one of the agents that doesn't overvalue, as we've just seen with the stock that you're selling without price reductions. So there's the proof of the pudding. You said it took 6 months to actually get the whole office behind the new approach. But you started talking about the fact that it started changing the kind of clients you were getting and everything else. I would love you to let the public know that it is possible for agents to win business without overvaluing, and that when it happens, what's the outcome?
Yeah, so I'll go slightly further back. So I didn't start as a branch manager. I just started as a trainee negotiator. Came in with nothing. Just always liked estate agents in suits and sometimes nice cars. And because I'm a big person on suits and old school fashion, I was like, my dream was to have a job where I can wear a tie. That's how I got in this. Call me stupid, but that's how I got into the business.
Lovely.
And at the time I started, so that's a part of the story even you, Charlie, haven't heard before. So what happened was we're always big on door knocking and prospecting and canvassing and whatnot. And I went to door knock a property in Cavendish Road in New Malden, literally 3 weeks after I started. Door knocked, and there was a slightly tipsy Irish fella, builder. You could see on his face, he's done nothing in his whole life but work, work, work. You could literally see it on his face. He's been on with 17 different agents, reduced by 200,000 already, still not selling. I door knocked. We had a chat. I had a cup of tea with an Irish additive to it, and I came back into the office 4 p.m. with a signed contract for a detached property for £1 million. And of course, if you tell a fool that 300 kilos is not heavy, they're going to come and pick it up. And I was the same. And I came into the office with a signed contract, and everybody looked at me as if I invented fire. I thought it was normal. That's what you do. You go out and you bring contracts back. And that's how they got me to, although I was not the branch manager, they thought I had a bit of a gift for the gab to talk to people, and I'd be good to basically list properties. And that's how it started. And the rule was, doesn't matter the price, tell them what they want to hear, sign a contract, minimum 16 weeks, aim for 2024, whatever happens, the fee as high as possible, and then we'll bring them down in price and sell it. And that's how it started. And very soon after we've started, it's easy to do that, especially when you promise people the earth. That's really easy, fooling people. You'd be surprised.
Just want to clarify for people watching. You say minimum 16 weeks, preferably 20 or 24. That's what you're talking about, the sole exclusive contract that you are making them sign, that means that they cannot leave you and go with another agent for that length of time, even if you don't sell it, which you can't because it's overpriced anyway. That's what I always say to my viewers: never sign a long sole agency contract. Sorry, I interrupted. Carry on.
And from there, I've realized that was the easy part of the job, then listing, because just tell people what they want to hear. The problem was that soon after that happened, obviously you couldn't sell it. And we had loads of, even those that we eventually, after loads of reductions, did sell, there was no positivity when they came to hand over the keys. It was almost like, here you have it, go do one. And I was in my house like, there has to be a better way. But the problem was, when I was more actively valuing, my previous manager, she always was, look, even if the property is worth 500, you have to say 550 for the sole reason that the other agents will say that as well, and you don't want to be the lowest. And that's where I was like, is the whole market corrupt? And then about 6 to 12 months later, I don't know exactly, I replaced her with the position of branch manager. And very soon after, I just wasn't happy with it. And slowly I was going my way into, I'm not going to say I've stopped overvaluing immediately. I've overvalued less. And then eventually I started going for the kill. And that's when you and I, Charlie, have actually started getting in touch and met. At the time, you didn't know me, I knew you. It's with time, I was like, right, so if I want to beat agents that are going to tell them a higher number, the only way for them to actually trust me is if I have lots of homework with me, 10 different comparables, floor plans, road averages, pounds per square foot, garden sizes, title plans. I went way too far. I don't go that far today because I know it doesn't make a difference. I take what's necessary for a regular seller to understand the way we see the property market. And with that, then eventually we were really quiet for a long time. And the way you've mentioned, yeah, well, we've realized our clientele has changed. We haven't had, I'm going to call them loopies, with some of them, which was our fault as well that they were loopies because we've misadvised them. I have to admit to that. And some people just, yeah, they see a neighbor online for 300,000 more and they want the same. And I'm like, yeah, but they've got a 6-meter extension, a loft, 100-foot longer garden, and they've got a side, they're 3 times bigger. What are you on about? So you get those people, and we don't get them anymore, basically. That's what I'm coming to. The clientele has changed. We get sellers that are motivated. We've got demands with sellers now because we know what actually takes to do a job efficiently. And it does take sellers' effort as well, preparing the property nicely for the photos, getting contract ready beforehand. Nobody wants to do it, but you'll have to do it at a certain point. And if we're doing it my way, we're doing it the right way. And if we're doing it my way, that's the only way we're going to do it, or I'm not doing it with you. And we've lost a lot of business over that. Because you have to, even our team, I was the only one doing it, and our team had to get used to it, that this is the way we're doing it now, which eventually they all do. But yeah, it is a process. And now for over a year now, year and a half-ish, it's just, we've realized there's no more difficult conversations, no more arguments. Our review platform exploded with positive reviews and people being thankful. The amount of bottles of whiskey that I got that I would never have paid for otherwise, because that was like, not for booze, I'm not paying that much. And they were just, hey, I don't care, this is for you. And we're talking £200 plus a bottle. I got Johnny Walker, those big Johnny Walkers with his blue label and whatnot. The attitude with people has changed. The atmosphere in the office, we became celebrating. That bell in the back, when every sales agreed, we ring that bell, celebrate. The office has got so much positivity; it's contagious. And best of all, people call us. We've just had a completion last week, and you sold Gemma's property. Can you come value ours as well? So we've been on the market for this long. She said you did such a great job. Can you come around? And I'm like, you begging us to come around? It's just so heartwarming, and it just, yeah, that's how it turns.
This is such a wonderful case study of my whole ethos that agents should be talking about the process, not the price, because when sellers understand the process, they understand the value of an agent like you that actually gets the job done quickly, makes sure you get competing bidders, gets it done fast, gets the seller prepared, makes the property more attractive to buyers. And there you are, you've got people sending you 200 quid bottles of whiskey. And a positive. And you also told me earlier that rather than negotiators having to ring around begging for viewings, they haven't got to do that anymore. They're now ringing around all the people who are making offers to negotiate the offers with the seller, which is just fantastic. And yes, of course, no buyers like being in a bidding situation, but when that is the situation, it's because the agent's done their job well. And one day those buyers will be a seller, and you'll want an agent like Teddy doing the same for you. But it's just congratulations. We've got to wrap it up now, Teddy. Are there any last-minute questions from anyone who's watching in the live stream? If not, I'm going to wrap it up. If you are selling or letting a property in Surbiton or Worcester Park in Southwest London, or know anyone that is, then here's your guy. Which way did I point? Okay. Yeah, that way. And just remains for me to say, Teddy, thank you very, very much for your time and your sharing and being very, very transparent with us and helping me get the message out there that not all agents are the same.
There is another question from Amber I can see. How long does a property have to be on the market before you can go and view to offer a 10% below asking price?
Oh, yeah, I missed that one. Sorry, Amber.
So this is a really good point. You can offer day one. There's no limitation of what you can offer. By offering lower, you just have to determine if you're offering lower just for the sake of it, if you don't want to go too far on it, are you prepared to lose it? Because if it's priced correctly, it's likely it's going to go for more anyway. Are you prepared to walk away if you cannot get it your way? But there's no restriction of when you can offer. Just go in and offer. You've got nothing to lose.
Yeah. Don't
be
wait.
prepared to lose out. on the property because you've offered lower. Which
No, but this is why I always say, like, a buyer should always offer their maximum comfortable price. That's it. The price above which you walk away anyway, and don't delay, don't wait. Go in there and offer it. Couple of the things, look at this one here. So Christopher Satov, sorry if I got that wrong. Been trying to buy in Worcester Park or Berrylands, Teddy's patch, for 10 months and have offered on 7 properties. All but one of these are still on the market. Most others are withdrawn without sale. Wow.
I wondered if that was any of our properties.
Yeah. Cool. Christopher, yeah. Can you tell us, was that any of those with hunters? And I wonder why. So, do you ever see that happening? Properties on the market that don't sell and they just come off the market?
Yeah, I mean, what we have, because Worcester Park, there's only one other agent, I would say, that is a serious competitor when it comes, and they are big corporate. On the top of Surbiton and Kingston, it's a more affluent area, very pricey, which means loads of hungry corporates. There's a huge battle out there in Surbiton. We are by far not as successful as we are in Worcester Park. That doesn't mean we don't do a job just as good. It's just stock-wise, because that's normally how people compare who's got the most stock. Well, in Worcester Park, we've got 0, almost 0, because everything's sold. But the problem is that those agents are competing for stock, because with corporates, you've got targets. You have to bring this many properties a month, no matter what, or your job goes. Which means that whether you bring them on at $1 million overpriced, don't care. And that's why you will see that sometimes. I'm very glad that you've actually offered on 7, that you were not holding back and thinking you're going to offend someone. Because if you have offered and haven't got it, Christopher, that means that either the seller were not serious or there was something else in the background. So you haven't actually lost out, because clearly there was something else in the background.
Cool. Right, there are a couple more questions, but I've got to wrap it up now. Guys, I'm really grateful to everyone for watching, and I'm very grateful to Teddy for actually coming along and giving us his time, because it can be, you guys can be pretty ruthless and brutal when I have an agent on. But
good.
but tonight's been very grown up and constructive, and I like that, and I'm proud of my audience. Thank you very much for being such a reasonable audience. I'm just trying to find. Let's just hide that. And Teddy, thank you very much.
No, thank you, Charlie.
See you soon. Keep up the fantastic work. Keep on setting a great example to other agents as well. Keep on helping people like me to communicate the fact that not all agents are the same. And remember, everybody, if your life, moving on with your life, requires selling your home, then you must choose your agent like your future depends on it, because it does. Teddy, thanks very much. Everyone else, bye. See you on the next one.